All right, guys, today we are going to be reacting to Andrew Trigger's feminist who struggles with submissiveness. Sampan?
Is it wrong if a man says women should be submissive, women should stay at home and take care of the kids, women should cook, women should clean? Is that sexist?
Honestly, I would prefer it that way. I'll be able to cook and clean and then do everything.
I don't think it's wrong, but I always wonder what you mean exactly when you say submissive, and I think a lot of women have trouble with that word. I don't particularly, but I never know what it means exactly because I think sometimes women hear like you need to shut up and do nothing and have no opinion and just say yes to everything.
Wait.
Luckily, you're asking the exact right. Well, okay, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Just before, I'll let you get to that, but I want to just get the panel's answer on that. So, of the things I listed, if a man says you should do all those things, sexist?
It's just a matter of preference. I don't think it's like innately wrong to have like a preference or to feel and think the way you feel. Hopefully that person could find the person that agrees with those thoughts as well.
You should be a politician. What about you?
No.
All right.
That wouldn't be for me, that person, but there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's all about preferences.
I think it's fair to say.
Okay. All right. Andrew, do you want to have the exchange about the being submissive thing?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to clarify what it means. It just means you do what you're told.
Straight up.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Well, no, I mean it has to sync up with
Congruent.
reason.
Yeah, it has to be congruent. But if it is based on that congruency, right, and it's not for harm, yeah.
You do what you're told within reason. But the thing is that quantifying reason. This is why when I talk about kind of whenever you have two different consciousnesses which come into contact, one's basically necessarily always going to dominate the other. In this case, I do think that men do tend to dominate relationships, and I even think that that's a good thing. I don't. Not only do I not think that's a bad thing, I think that that's how things ought to be.
But you don't want like negotiations? Like you don't think that you don't want
Do generals want to negotiate with colonels?
I don't know. But does that mean that you want that in your relationship?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the answer is no. So, like, I think that you can have tons of objections or needs or things that you want from a submissive role that you can ask for and get, right, between two different individuals. This can be a business relationship. This can be anything, not just a relationship. You can have two people who are in these roles, and one who's in the submissive role can request things within the confines of reason, and usually those things will be granted. The thing that happens, though, is that inside relationships, eventually two people come to an impasse. Who do we defer to?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like let's say you have a discussion, then it's like, for me, it's like the best idea should win.
Yeah, but who gets to make the determination as to what the best idea is?
Well, both
so what
people.
What happens when you have an impasse, and it's kind of very
interesting. You know what I was thinking about this lady right here? I don't think she ever heard these arguments before. If she did heard the arguments before, she probably just skipped in with a very, superficial argument with no pushback, because I don't think she's getting it.
Pretentious, in fact, when people say, oh, I want a person who we're never going to have an impasse, or we're never going to have I think this is the way and he thinks this is the way, or vice versa. That's every relationship that you're ever going to be in. There's going to be an impasse which comes up. The question is, who gets deferred to? So you think everything is within the confines of what should be, and so does he, right? Who gets deferred to?
Yeah, I think that.
When you say, well, those with the best idea.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who gets to determine that?
Well, that's always in the discussion. I think like if you have a discussion with someone, then you both are like,
you have the discussion. You think you're right, and he thinks he's right.
Yeah. Well, then you. I don't think because you're the man I don't believe that because you're the man you automatically have the best idea or the best course of action.
Well, somebody's got to be the tiebreaker, especially when there's kids involved, right? Somebody has to be the tiebreaker, especially when there's kids involved. You can't be at a perpetual impasse when it comes to your
Yeah.
children's welfare, for instance, right? Somebody has to be deferred to.
Yeah.
So the question is, who gets deferred to? This is the great question, by the way, of the 21st century. And this is the question feminism cannot answer. We must have children, and in order to have children, we're going to have men and women sleeping together. And in order to have good results with those children, usually those couples need to stay together long term, right? Or you're probably going to have bad results with the children. Every study on planet Earth confirms this. So what happens when we're inside of these relationships and feminism has taught you to be a strong, empowered, awesome, epic woman, boss babe in tight leather who can take down 300-pound men with machine guns with nothing more than your 120-pound ninjutsu? And you end up in an impasse, right? You end up in an impasse with your husband. Now, this used to be codified into law. And so the codification in the law was, well, there's an impasse, you're going to have to defer to the husband. And now that's no longer law. And so now we end up in these, well, we can't make the decision because neither party will back down. So how do we solve that?
So damn, right? Now that when he put it like that, it's very dangerous because then it becomes like a bubble. It becomes a bubble, and that bubble, it can explode in any second. So that's what he's referring to. Wow.
Kind of the great question of modernity.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like two grown-ups will naturally figure it out together, not just
that's
because
funny.
you
Why do we have
choose,
a-
you know. I don't think it goes that way. I think naturally, like, they both people,
That's funny.
you will come up with like,
Two people can't
that's, that's basically the argument of the feminists, that they're both equal, but we have data. Divorce rates are skyrocketing, and you guys are initiating between 70 to 80% of those divorces. Like, your own argument is just showing that it's not true. It's not true, and you guys are just ending every relationship you guys are. And not only that, when it's time to choose, you guys are always choosing the wrong guys. Not always right, but there's a majority. Like, I don't. All these things just sounds good, but when you put them into practical application, they always go with a different result.
Decide on gun control.
no, but like you
They
come
can't
up.
decide on where they want to go eat together.
Let's
They
say- I
can't decide. The whole country's polarized 50-50 on abortion. Like, we can't agree on basic things. You
Yeah.
think inside of relationships, though, somehow it's going to just naturally occur?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that kind of pie in the sky, kind of silly thing in a way?
No, I think sometimes like because you trust your partner and you're like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna try your way, and then another impasse is gonna be okay. We're gonna try the other way. Like
Nah.
it's
Oh, wait,
a
hang
mutual
on. That
thing.
requires a concession. We'll try it.
Yeah, but I think the concession sometimes going to be from the woman. Sometimes the concession is going to be from the
Yeah,
men.
but the
Like, you
man
know, let's
says,
say.
well, okay, but here's the thing, right?
Egalitarian.
So it used to be codified into law that when there was an impasse, it deferred to the man. It's no longer codified into the law anymore that it's deferred to the man. You would agree with me that's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we have these great impasses, what happens when neither party backs down?
Well, I just think at some point one party will back down. It
Yeah,
just
but they
naturally
don't.
happens. No, like
they don't.
people.
We see nothing.
But people
Divorce
do.
rates are sky high.
Yeah.
Right, out of wed.
Isn't that what I said, folks? Isn't that what I said?
Out of wedlock relationships
go.
are sky high. People don't even want to take the risk because of this idea that one party's not going to back down. Inside of religious cultures, of course, there's a deference to the man, and you tend to see the more religious a person is, the less they get divorced. Isn't that interesting? Because there's this tiebreaker, right? There's this, when we hit this impasse, we now have somebody who's deferred to, and both people from the religious perspective agree that that deference is going to go towards the man. But where feminism's one of their greatest failures has come in is inside of relationships. If we're both equal, who gets to be the decider when we have a situation where we can't decide?
But I think it changes. That's what I mean. I think like it's if you can't figure it out together, and if you don't, it doesn't go one way or the other. Like sometimes one way, then yeah, maybe you're just incompatible and you should be together.
Yeah,
like,
you're
I
not
see
gonna,
that.
so I'm going to reject a couple things here outright. You're not incompatible with somebody because you can't agree on an issue and neither one of you will back down. That actually does not assume that you're incompatible with each other. That could have issues of pride together. It could be all sorts of issues which are inside of that relationship that actually have nothing to do with the fact that one of you is actually right and one of you is wrong. But if you would agree, and maybe you don't, but if you did agree that we should defer to kind of reason and logic first, I would think that most people would agree the sex that has that mostly dominated is men. Not that there's not irrational men, there are, or overly emotional men, of course there are. But generally speaking, I would say that they're much more rational and logical than women are. Why shouldn't you defer to men? Like, what does that cost women exactly in a relationship to just back down on their pride and defer to the man?
There
What
you
does that really
go.
cost them?
Well, I just can't assume that because you're a dude, you will have the best idea and the,
So,
you know what I mean?
why
I
do
don't
you-
see how you can
so-
assume that because of gender. You like
Yeah,
have
so
you-
then you are agreeing that you make bad choices when it comes to picking men?
everybody makes.
No. You see how she did? You see what kind of answer she gave? Everybody does it. Everybody, everybody made bad choices. Everybody does it. But she didn't answer whether or not she made bad choices. Bad choices. Let's just go back to that. Man, Andrew Wilson is very good at this.
Are agreeing that you make bad choices when it comes to picking men?
Everybody makes. Oh, what me personally? If I make bad
Well,
choices?
I mean, not you personally. I'm just saying women. Then women would have to concede that they're making bad choices when it comes to picking men.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If that is the case, that when they pick the man, somehow they can't defer to his leadership,
Yeah.
and they have to defer to their own. It seems like they're picking very bad men, right?
Yeah, and I think the opposite happens too. I think some men pick really bad women.
See how she had to turn it back to, yeah, but it happens in the other way around too, right? This is the problem that we have. This is where it goes, and this is where feminism has won. They won for a lot of years because of that same argument. It took a lot of years to really decipher this language. It's not easy. Not easy. Now, because we have a lot of videos, we have the red pill, we got the pickup artists, we have a lot of these stuff, right? That disseminate some of the language, and somehow we have philosophers like Andrew Wilson and others like the great Kevin Samuels, the Andrew Tate, a lot of these things, right? Now we can see, but it was not easy, folks. It was not easy.
Meant to. But yes.
Well, I think that I would say it's necessarily a trait that if you have a woman who refuses to submit to your leadership, she's a bad woman.
Damn.
I would say that that's always bad. That she's always doing the wrong thing in that case. As long as what you're asking her to do comports with reason.
Yep.
I have no idea what the objection.
Well, that was good. Man. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you in the next one.